Hey guys, welcome to another session of RBTL. This week, not so much I think a really big monumental patch, but as usual, reading between the lines is the place where kind of talk about some of the highlights of the recent patch notes or some current events, and hopefully this is informative for a lot of you guys. Weekend buff event is coming up right now. They flipped it, the crafting rate for the hunt drop and stuff like that, and gold increase is gonna be on the very last day of the weekend, which is kind of welcome, I guess, for a lot of the players. But during this time, a new pack is introduced, Burning Passion pack, once per day during the event period. I'm supposing most players who already buy Leaf Pack are going to get this. I think right now I might look into buying this. So it's gonna be a limited thing, so I'm kind of may do it. But I don't want to talk about whether or not you should buy it or not. During this event, there's a new thing now they're introducing, a 30 free summons event. It's kind of cool. Never really thought about this, but I mean, this could really incentivize some new players coming in, and I think that every single month, if they have something like this, every single month they'll be drawing some new players in. Whether they're going to be players that will stick to the game, that's a whole other story, but yeah, this kind of stuff hits the social media, hits Discord, and people who are looking into Epic 7s, like they'll be like asking, hey, is this a good time to reroll? Like usually on limited banners, like new players kind of flood in. This kind of thing can help the game as well, so it's kind of cool. And of course, the people or the players that have been loyal throughout the beginning of the game or whenever you've joined, this is going to be great as well. So I mean, not something that we expected, but that's definitely really cool. 10 free covenant summons per day of the 3 days of the buff, so that's fantastic. All right, let's move on here. We got a free equip event as well coming. It was kind of expected, as we do usually have one once a month, regardless of any special events that do overlap. So having multiple free equip events per month is not unusual for us at this point, but thanks again, Smilegate, for free equip event, because we can all benefit from it, especially when you're shuffling your gear around all your hard work from farming and hunting. This time I'll finally be able to understand why people really like free equip event, since I just have like 3 or 4 heroes that really want to swap gear and change like full entire builds, and potentially that will cascade down to other heroes as well. So again, free equip event is coming this weekend. Again, a lot of stuff to do. We have this thing I want to cover here, this new special rewards for new heirs. And again, it's aligned with what I was just saying about having these kind of like, even though there's no like specific holiday that they're celebrating, but hey, it's very smart for them to kind of market themselves once a month. It's rare enough, actually, once a month, or maybe once or twice a month, depends, to have these kind of like, hey, free daily summons, and then have these kind of like availability things for check-in, like these check-in events for new players. From what it looks like, though, I mean, you get a free 4 to 5 star hero ticket at the end. That's very nice. So keeping a player stuck in a game for 7 days, and this is part of like a user experience research. If you can retain a player's attention for more than a week, they have a higher likelihood to convert to being a full-time player. And then on top of that, being a full-time player means also potentially becoming a spender. So I mean, this is not rocket science. Most people in the video game industry do know this. So it's kind of smart that they're doing this more often, so they'll be able to draw in new players. Now, whether they stick or not, that's up to the player themselves, but I mean, I think there's a lot of incentive to do it. The free equipment that comes in this is pretty cool, because at least I think these are the exact same ones that we've all got for free during one of the past events. Yeah, I think so. These rolled really well, and I mean, if you're lucky, they're all pretty usable substats. There's not really a salty set in here. Very rarely do we get like a full set of free gear with fully usable substats. But yeah, so hopefully for the new players that get this, you guys get some lucky rolls. Now onto the main beef of the patch note. Chapter 6S and 7S are now unlocked. Doesn't seem to be really anything important in the AP shop, but that has always been the case for the secret. What does the S stand for? Secret? Special? I don't know. The S chapters. Actually, in episode 1, we've seen that too. So I mean, usually you farm it because you get the Sky Stone out of it, you get the Molagora out of it if you triple star all of the stages, and of course, it is kind of nice to have. Over time, if you do urgent missions and they bring you to the 7S, 6S, or the NES map, you'll be able to, like, you know, get some AP points over time. And then sometimes you're gonna need some catalysts. You look at the maps that you need, and you just say, hey, wait a minute, you know, I can get 2 Ring of Glories on this map that I don't usually farm. But that's kind of cool. So that's unlocked. I think those 2 are the only ones left. But I recently only finished the story myself because of the SC Raws. Anyways, exclusive equipment event. Oh, sorry, exclusive equipments. 2 new ones, Vivian and Luluca, both 5-star. Pretty big deal. I don't even know if Vivian really even needed one right now. What we're seeing in the meta is that Vivian is actually very, very good. I think a lot of people slept on Vivian ever since she was released. Used her as Banshee buffers or whatnot. But we're actually seeing her used in RTA and GVG. She has a lot of good base stats to go around. Good tankiness stats as a mage. Decent speed. Very good attack. So I think... and a really, really good kit. Now with the EEs coming out, we'll take a look at here. We were talking about this on Discord, me and a couple guys, and we were saying that nothing in terms of the base stat would be salty on Vivian except effectiveness. But I don't think they would have, like, Sonic would have done that, honestly. But 7 to 14% health. Sadly, it wasn't defense because she has really high base defense as a mage. Health is not as high, but still not bad. 14% is, you're not going to see a lot, but I mean, every single stat counts. I mean, that's a very solid 2 rolls into a health substat on any of the gear that you're chasing health, so not a bad stat to boot. And then the skills itself, we got Vitality Drain, which is the S1. Combat readiness of the cast is increased by another additional 5% when using Vitality Drain, but if it results in a critical hit. Now, I mean, most people who build their Vivians are not going to be, you know, they're not going to be lowering their critical hit on purpose. I mean, she is a DPS, so I mean, as assuming that most people run her on immunity set, at least the top players run on immunity set, speed set, they're gonna try to hit 100% crit rate. So that additional 5% will give her up to a 20% CR boost for herself. Very, very, very strong. 20% CR boost on an S1, and her base speed, and usually people build her like 200 speed, maybe even 200 plus. Able to even dish out some damage like that too. This is gonna really help her entire usage. It just depends on how you want to use her. It seems that all 3 right now that I'm looking at are incredibly good. So I actually have no issues with them. Mana amplification is her S3. This is the self buff, 3-turn immortality. 3-turn immunity. Imagine 3-turn immortality. 3-turn immunity, 3-turn attack buff, but greater attack buff to herself. 50% combat readiness to herself to set up the next turn. Usually people just go straight into the cleave. I think this one's gonna probably be the biggest one that people are gonna be using in terms of like the main, because Vivian honestly is an insanely strong cleaver. She has mods that beats Earth Vildred, and her base stats are not, again, like I said, not shabby. So 50% CR boost into her next turn, which most people will go to the S2, is incredibly crazy. If you have like another external book holder, most people in RTA run her on a Dignus Orb, but if you have an external book holder, you could use like a Toggle Hallucination book. You can soul burn at S2 and you're gonna wipe out something. So this is incredibly good because she has a greater attack buff after this. And she can go straight into the S2 with a 50% CR boost. So if you have her really fast and you're dealing with like kind of squishier or slower heroes rather, it's going to be insanely nice. It's just like Lily is doing her S3 and then be able to go to the S2 very quick. Most of us know, like, it depends on the speed, of course, but most of us know, like, this could be very, very, very usable. And like I said, I think this is going to be the main. But the next one, mana amplification 2 or 2.0, is not bad one itself. Dispels 1 debuff from all allies before the skill in hand. It's a skill effect when using mana amplification. What this means is that if like someone lands an unbuffable, you can actually dispel that unbuffable and then still apply your immunity buff. This is full team, by the way. So then she fulfills, like, again, another role. Like I said, she could be a DPS, and she's a really good support hero just because of the immunity buff with attack buffs. Being able to dispel that one debuff is really good. So like, if you're using her purely as a setup for someone else, let's say the enemy lands a blind debuff on you, or an attack down, or like I said, an unbuffable, it doesn't matter. You're going to get cleanse first, and then you're going to get attack buff and immunity. Very, very, very solid EE. Not super broken. I would say the one I covered in the middle there, that one's pretty broken, because knowing how Vivians are roughly built now, it's going to be really good. So Vivian with the EE has now more incentive for people to start looking into building her. Definitely a very, very usable EE there. Very, very nice. Luluca is also very good. It seems that they keep wanting to push her into like a PvE hero more than anything else. I mean, realistically, when she was there, like when she was like released, she seemed to be like mixed, but now I feel like it's almost like Smilegate went into how players used her. So like they're kind of like building upon how players are using Luluca by default. Luluca, in terms of a PvP hero, is lacking. So I mean, she really shares similar roles to Fire Tenebria, but Fire Tenebria got so many dev buffs, and Luluca, hey, it's not like they didn't dev buff her. They did, but it seems that they're kind of like making it more narrow, that yeah, you're gonna use it for PvE, you're gonna use it for PvE. I'm okay with that, to be honest, but I kind of still want to see the 5-star heroes especially being able to have a very solid role in the PvP. Now I know that a lot of people hearing this will be like, hey, I use Luluca in RTA, I use Luluca in PvP. All right. I mean, she's not going to be a meta pick, because the stuff that she brings to the table, while nice, defense breaks mainly. I mean, she's, yeah, I don't know. Compared to immunity buff and attack buff, you're not going to use a defense buff and shield buff as much, especially when that doesn't come from like a knight or someone tanky, like really tanky itself. But I mean, it's not saying that Luluca is bad. Luluca is actually really good. It's just that I think with all the heroes that everybody has priorities molaying, which is still the main problem, Luluca won't be one that people will mola just for PvP. But that being said, long story short, the effectiveness is fantastic. So effectiveness going into being a PvP hero, or PvE hero rather, it's going to be really good. Increases the defense chance by wild wave by, increases decreased defense chance, so defense break by 15% on wild wave, which is the S1. It's at a 50% right now, so 65% is very, very solid. And then wild wave 2 has a 35% chance to grant an extra attack, so like Surmia's S1 EE. With the same skill using wild wave, extra attack can only be granted once per turn of the caster. So this one, it's because it has a defense break, so it's not kind of like Surmia where you can get it on a counter, you can get it on a dual attack. This one can only be for herself, because ideally you can land a defense break and then the 35% chance procs, and then you do more damage. And as you and Luluca gets stronger too over time, so this skill becomes pretty decent. And then of course, even if you don't land a defense break, you get a 35% chance to land a 50% chance defense break which in majority of PvE fights, I'm thinking her being very solid for Wyvern actually right now. While a lot of people already think that, I don't think people did. I think going into something like Azimanic 13 would be really good too. Did I say Wyvern 11? I meant Wyvern 13. 35% chance to grant the death break, so it's really good. Wave of Vengeance is a 75% chance to now also decrease attack on all enemies for 2 turns when using Wave of Vengeance. This is why I'm thinking, hey, maybe Luluca on Atika Scepter, but of course you could use like Sira Ren to potentially hit that Wyvern as well. But getting the attack break is pretty cool. Defense break, attack break combo on the S3 that looks like Champion Zerato. But yeah, anyways, so I mean, out of the 2, I think the Vivian one is more hype, since Vivian right now is seeing a more prominent role in PvP, and because this game is so heavy PvP, most likely people are going to care about that more. So in terms of the EE on Luluca, I don't know if this makes her more PvP friendly, but definitely more PvE friendly. So that's fantastic. New drop rate up, Alina and still Harpa, and we got Ludwig and Time Matter. Ludwig I don't have at this point, and man, I feel super baited and maybe having to pull it. I kind of always wanted a Ludwig, although I don't do really cleave comps. Ludwig himself is pretty decent cleaver for a bruiser comp as well, because really he has high survivability, you know, kind of needing an invincibility buff, and then he hits really hard, so I kind of feel like I might go for it. But anyways, if you are missing out on these heroes, potentially you want to go for this. I wouldn't recommend it, especially after a triple banner Guilty Gear collab with all 3 heroes, or at least even the artifacts, namely Miss Confile, being really good. So most players probably would have no resources at this point. I don't think I actually have enough resources for Ludwig, so he'll have to be passed again, potentially. We'll see. Let's see here. Japanese media pack, Sympho Angelica, awesome. I'm using her everywhere now. Apocalypse Ravi, also cool. All-rounder Wanda, feels bad, man. Powder of Knowledge pack, I'm just gonna skip that. This is kind of cool, although again, I don't like to talk about packs because it's talking about spending and stuff. 10 times summon pack start dash. There's some explanations here on what you can get. You got a guaranteed artifact, you get a guaranteed hero on the 9th and 10th pull. 1 to 8 summons, you get a lower rate, or your quote-unquote regular rates. I mean, this could be good. You could be really lucky. This reminds me of a previous game I played that they had packs kind of like this. Let's see here. Anything else I wanted to cover? I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, that one's pretty much the main topic, was probably the new exclusive equipment event, and also at this point that there has been a Korean stream on this new hero that was released in terms of preview yesterday. And to be honest, we were all thinking like, oh, it's a specialty change Tieria, and then some people were saying that it could be an ML. I was thinking that it could be a new RGB 5-star, trying to bait us away from having bookmarks for another collab coming, or at least a limited banner incoming. The game is definitely picking up the pace, but it turns out it's not a secret, I think, to most people. It turns out that it is Tieria, but it's ML Tieria for free, and you get a free artifact for the new Adventurous Path for episode 2. So that's really cool. It kind of like, I guess, kind of like Elson, in terms of Elson was free, and he was, yeah, I mean, he was summonable as well. So eventually, I mean, Tieria will be, ML Tieria will be placed into the pool. Again, whether or not you know, she's gonna be good or not, at this point, I don't believe we know yet. So we'll have to see. But anyways, that's just something that I should note in this patch note. So I'm gonna end this here. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server. Follow me on Twitter. Subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next RBTL.